Hey, this is Eric Peacock, Purity to Fitness here. Just doing a quick Facebook Live because I want to talk about numbers. So often people want to have specific results, but they're not willing to look at the numbers because the numbers really tell the truth of if things are working, if they're not, if you're making progress, if they're not. So I want to talk about some numbers that are important for you to know to see if you're making progress or not. And I want to talk about four numbers specifically because um, these numbers are important, and we use them a lot in our personal training studio in Lakeville, and they help us to do a good job of getting people results. I've done this for 25 plus years, so I pay my bills and support my family by getting people results. So here are some numbers I want to talk about. Number one, calorie deficit. 500 calorie deficit needs to happen on a daily basis consistently. One of the things I see is people eat a lot of healthy food and things that are notoriously healthy but high in calories. Like, let's give some examples here, like almonds, um, meat, a lot of healthy fats like peanut butter, avocados, and fat carries 9 calories per gram. It's 2.25 times more calories per gram than carbs or protein. And so people eat a lot of these healthy foods, but they're not in a calorie deficit. And what I'm telling you is you have to have a calorie deficit if you're going to lose fat. You can't just eat a bunch of healthy food and expect to lose weight. You have to get an idea of where where your maintenance is. And the only way to really do that, without spending lots of money on a metabolic cart or something at a hospital, is to get on FitnessPal or some type of app, start logging what you're doing, and then just kind of monitor your weight and see what happens. If your weight starts to drop, you're in a deficit. If it's kind of leveled off, you might have to tweak that back a little bit. And so having a way to track that and measure if your weight changes, that is a good way to start. And a typical good calorie range for most Americans that aren't very, very active, I kind of start with your body weight times about 10 times 10. So if you're 150 pounds, about 1,500 calories. That's a starting point. That's not the written in stone, but put that into FitnessPal and see what happens to your weight on a daily basis and use that as objective data. So 500 calorie deficit, I would like to see 250 calories come from slightly cutting your food intake below 250 and then also exercising for at least 250 calories a day. And you can do that. You can guesstimate that through a Fitbit. You can plug things into FitnessPal if you want, but so really a 500 calorie deficit per day. If you're doing that, you're losing about a pound of fat a week. And that's pretty realistic for most people. A lot of people think they want to lose more, but a pound or two of fat a week, 2 is about the max you want to lose, is what you want to do to have it kind of come off slow and steady so it stays up, not really fast. If weight's coming off really fast, typically it's either water weight because you made some major changes in your eating. You're not eating fast food and all this other junk, and the sodium's gone in your body, getting rid of a lot of excess water weight. Or if you're starving yourself, you will lose a lot of fat, but you'll lose a lot of muscle along the way, which makes you look skinny fat. So 500 calorie deficit, that's our first number. The next number is we're going to talk about being active. I've said this in other Facebook Lives, is 10,000 steps a day. And most people I know, probably 3/4 of my clients have a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, some type of fitness tracker watch. It's pretty popular now. This is getting easier and easier to track. But if you're not getting 10,000 steps a day, you're not burning any calories unless only with your workout. And those calories you burn doing other things like yard work, walking, being active, those count towards your deficit as well. So we want to make sure we're active because like I've said before, if you work out a half hour a day and you sit on your butt another 23 and a half hours, what do you think your body's going to reflect? The half hour workout you do a day or the 23 and a half you sit around? So being active is another thing. We call it NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's basically the calories you burn from non-structured exercise activities. So very, very important to get those 10,000 steps a day. So that's number two. Number 3 is going to be know your body fat composition. And we can do this in our studio. You can come in, we can measure this. Body fat is a better measurement of overall fitness than the scale. We use the scale to see if it's changing, when we're looking at calorie deficit. But body composition is what I would say is probably the gold standard in terms of measuring how fit you are, because that's basically looking at how much lean mass versus body fat you have. So just if you're not familiar with those numbers, so let's start with women. 30% or higher body fat is considered obese. 25 to 30% is considered overweight. 20 to 25% is healthy. 15 to 19% is athletic. Now, if you're below 15% as a woman, the only reason I would tell you to go below that, it might be just temporarily for some type of fitness competition, or if you're just a really lean athlete. But you start getting too low, and that starts to mess up your menstrual cycle and your hormones. So the lowest I'd ever want to see a woman is in that 15 to 19% athletic range. Any lower than that, it starts to look at some issues with health. So for guys, it's a little bit different. 20 to 25% is considered overweight. 15 to 19% is considered pretty healthy. 10 to 14% is considered, kind of athletic. And if you get into the single digits, that's when we're talking, kind of like with the women, that's where we're talking like bodybuilding, specific things that most guys aren't going to get into single digits. It's okay to get in single digits. Most guys are going to get the 5 or 6% body fat. That's like stage ready, but just looking at that, where your body comp is, and calipers is a good way to measure that. There's always a little bit of a margin of error, but it's a good index to use because we're actually pinching skin folds. So know your body comp is a good thing to know. Doing that every 4 weeks and setting your goals based on that versus the scale. You should see the scale move in conjunction with that. So for instance, if I lose 30 pounds and I only lose 1 or 2% body fat, that tells you a lot of that 30 pounds is water weight and lean muscle. So there's a formula you can do with that to make sure that body, when your body comp's going down in conjunction with the scale, that tells you the most of the weight you're losing is fat weight. So that's number 3. Number 4 is called progressive overload. Our bodies need fresh stimulus to adapt to. And too often what I see in the gym and when I talk to people is they do the same weight, the same reps over and over and over again. And with progressive overload, we're always progressing every workout. So let me give an example of progressive overload. So let's say I can bench press 120 pounds for 8 reps. And I'm going to do a program where I do 3 sets of 8 to 12 with bench press. So my first week, I'm going to do 120 for 8 reps. My second week, I do 120, and I'm going to kick on a couple reps on 120 for 10 reps. My third week, I'm going to go 120 reps. I'm going to shoot for 12 reps. And if I get all my sets at 12 reps on that third week, my fourth week, I'm going to move the weight up about 10 pounds to 130, and I'm going to start back down in 8 reps. And I'm going to work that 8 reps up to 12 reps. So that's one example of progressive overload. And this is why I believe it's important to track your workouts, your lifts, and make sure that you have a constant, steady improvement. Too often people go to the gym, they don't really think about what weights they're using. They don't track their workouts. They don't document things. And it's real random. And so progressive overload is your 4th number, really looking at tracking the weights and being cognizant, setting some strength goals. Get stronger, because if you get stronger, you're adding muscle. If you're adding muscle, you're changing your physique. It's that simple. So that's the 4th number. Now I have a 5th bonus number, and I want to talk about, because I see this a lot in a fitness pal in the journals I look at, is fiber. A lot of times we think about carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. Fiber is considered a macronutrient too, and it's very important. Obviously, we know it's important for digestive health, which is really your gut is really the key to your health. But number 2 is it also helps control blood sugar. And what does that have to do with fat loss? Well, when I eat foods with high in fiber, I'm going to have a slower release. That it's going to take longer for that meal to break down. And what that'll do is that'll keep your blood sugar nice and stable, which keeps your hormone insulin low. When your hormonal insulin is lower, your body is primed to burn body fat. And you think about high fiber foods like oatmeal that has a lot of bulk. You eat a bowl of oatmeal, you're pretty satisfied. A bowl of Rice Krispies or Apple Jacks or Cinnamon Toast Crunch, you could probably have another bowl or 2. So very important that we eat a lot of fiber for our digestive health, but also to slow down the emptying time of our meal, which is going to make us eat less calories overall, because fiber has 0 calories. It goes right through your body, but it adds bulk to the food and it helps you feel full. Because one of the biggest reasons why people blow their nutrition is they get hungry. And it's because a lot of times when I look at and they actually track fiber, we are very, very low. And so the targets you want to shoot for are, for guys, we want to be about 35 grams of fiber, and for women about 25 grams of fiber. And you can actually set this up in FitnessPal and probably any other app to track this and start to see where you're at. A lot of times I see people very, very low in their fiber, and that is one of the reasons why they're always hungry. They're always fighting cravings. So very important, that number as well. So those are your 4 numbers. Creative number 1, just to recap, calorie deficit of 500 calories, because even if you're eating healthy food and you're not in deficit, you will not lose body fat. All right, it's that simple. I don't care if it's low carb, keto food, whatever it is. If you're not in deficit, you will not lose body fat. Number two is you got to be active. All right. Your body reflects what it does during the day. So 10,000 steps a day minimum. So make a pointed effort to be active outside of the gym. Park your car farther away. I've said this before. Take the stairs at work. Go for a walk at lunch. Get out in the yard, work. Get off the screens and make sure you're moving your body. Get a Fitbit. It's well worth the investment if you don't have one, or an Apple Watch, something like that where you can track this thing. Number three is making sure you know your body composition. Get that measured. And we can measure it at Pure Vita Fitness. If you're in our area, we'll definitely do that for you and tell you what that is. But know your body composition and what that means, and use that as your goal setting, your gold standard. Number four is with your strength training, using progressive overload. If you want to see the difference in your body, how your muscles look, how your definition, your tone, you have to be progressing. And that progressive overload, like I said, 3 sets of 8 one week, 3 sets of 10 the next week, 3 sets of 12. When you get to 12, kick the weight up a little bit, start back down at sets of 8. That's a great system. It's real simple. It's old school, but it works really, really well. And then the fifth one is get your fiber in. I mean, I see a lot of people coming up short here, 25 grams for women, 35 grams for men, to help keep your digestive health good, and also to control your blood sugar, which will help you lose weight and fight cravings. So that's my Facebook Live. The numbers do matter. What you track improves. So if you're not tracking, it's time to start if you want to see improvement. Reach out if you would like to do a complimentary consultation, either over the phone or face-to-face in our studio. We'd love to help you out. If you feel like you're stuck with your fitness goals, we love to do that. There's no charge for that, and we can give you a couple options of what you need to do to reach your goals. So you can send a personal message or put a comment in this post, and we'll reach out and connect with you. So that's it. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you later.